So let's get into the sermon, and we won't be able to cover all 7 of these, certainly not in detail, but we do want to hit some of the high points that we think are most significant. And I think we have to start with the first one. We do have to include it, that the love of Christ is an everlasting love.
When we think of everlasting, we don't want to limit ourselves to thinking just it will last a long time. So like our love can falter, God's love won't falter. But think of everlasting. Think of going to a timeline and picking a place on the timeline of human history. So a dot, and then draw an arrow going both directions. So if you could go, like Tozer said, if you could go to the beginning of human existence, the beginning of creation, and then, you're at the edge of that void, and Tozer says, just in your mind, just leap off into eternity past. God is there, and God is loving his people. And if we go to the opposite edge of eternity future, where we cannot imagine what it's like to exist without the passage of time, without thousands of years mattering. And if you could go to the furthest reach of your imagination in the future and just jump off the edge, God is loving his people there as well.
Yeah, and like you were saying a moment ago about the difficulty of reckoning with eternality or being everlasting, when we think about this, it doesn't take long for us to realize that it's a concept that we don't completely grasp. How do you can go back so far, and then there's just nothing to really reckon with before that. Witherspoon makes the point, though, that while we have just a poor concept of this, it should not in any way be a stumbling block to our gratitude. It's there. It's big. It's bigger than we can comprehend, but it is there, and our hearts should respond.
When we think of God's omnipresence, that God is in every place that we go. So when we came into the office today to film this, God pre-exists us here. He's here. He's at our homes at the same time. But think about temporal, the existence of God in every moment, because he's eternal. He's not just the oldest being, the unending being. He is a timeless being. So, in a sense, we can think that God is in every human moment all at once, past, present, and future at once. That means every moment we enter into as believers in Christ, every moment, God pre-exists me, and he has loved me infinitely in that moment and in this moment. If I ever stop and try to give some effort there, to be careful, I find that to be such a motivating thing. And we'll talk about that at the end, how this ought to move us.
Yeah.